It is what it is. There's nothing I could have done. But then there was the other part of me that was like, well, like I know deep down that I haven't really tried to get out of this situation. And no one's gonna help me. There's no safety net. It's not like someone's just gonna come out of the woodwork and save me from this. I knew that, to be honest with myself, I had to at least try. And that's what I did. I just tried. Um, and that's kind of step by step, brick by brick, what kind of got me out of it.
Hi, and welcome to the EO Business Podcast. I'm your host, Linh Podetti. Now, today we have an incredible guest, Harry Sanders, founder of StudioHawk. Now, Harry has been an EO Melbourne member for over 6 years and runs one of the largest independent SEO agencies in the world, with a team of 80 SEO specialists across Australia, UK, and the US. Now, in this episode, we dive into Harry's remarkable journey from starting and exiting a business at just 14 to experiencing homelessness and then rising to build StudioHawk into a thriving 8-figure enterprise. This is a story of hope, resilience, and determination. Now, let's get ready to be inspired by Harry.
This episode is sponsored by Outsourcing Angel, your partner for skilled offshore staff in LinkedIn marketing, lead generation, customer support, and more. As a social enterprise, we donate 10% of profits to charity and provide heart-centered VAs who go the extra mile for your success. Visit outsourcingangel.com.
Welcome to the show, Harry.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so I originally saw you on LinkedIn, and the first thing that popped up was this whole homeless story, and I'm like, oh my God, I really need to get you on. And of course, I love Melbourne. I was an ex-Melbourne member, and I used to live in Melbourne, and you're in EO Melbourne. So more reasons to talk to you. So I would love for you to, I guess, introduce yourself and share a little bit about your story.
Yeah, sure. So, I started Studio Hawk when I was 17. And since then, about now 10 years later, it's flown by. I've got about 100 staff across the UK, Australia, and the US in a business called Studio Hawk, which is a very specialized SEO company. Then I've got another business as well called Caddy, which is a luggage brand.
Mm. And so before you got into this, successful SEO company, what really happened and how did you get to where you are?
Yeah. So, I mean, do you want to start from the beginning?
Yes, give me all the juicy story.
So growing up, relatively, not super well off family in terms of money. Parents divorced, and a school donated one of those old computers to the family. And the second I got on this thing, I was in love. Right, played a lot of a game called RuneScape, and just kind of really got into the world of computers. Eventually, I started building my own travel website because I had this dream of traveling. Um, and started learning that, after you build a website, you need to do SEO to start getting traction and visibility on it. So I went down the rabbit hole of learning SEO, and it was the first time in my life that I think I'd learned something on my own accord that I loved, that was creative, it was logical, and it just blended together. And I grew this thing, and it started getting 10,000 visits a month, 20,000, 30,000, and one day I got an email asking me if I would be willing to sell it. And so at that age, I was 14. I replied back and I said, I'll be willing to sell it, but we have to figure out a price. What did you have in mind? They kind of said, well, you tell us, we're not sure. And I said, well, I'm probably willing to sell it, but I was like, I got to learn how to negotiate. So I Googled how to negotiate, and this term called anchoring came up, which is set a really high price and negotiate down. So I said, I'm willing to sell it, but it's going to be around the $2,000 mark. Uh, and so
You're a 14-year-old.
I was a lot to a 14-year-old. I was fully expecting them to come back and say, look, $300 is all we've got for this. And so obviously sold this website. Um, and they asked me if I would do a training session with their team. And I said, I'd love to do a training session with your team. And you can imagine a 14-year-old, pimply 14-year-old in a baggy, oversized suit of one of mum's friends rocks up at the office and says, hey, I'm here to do the training session. And they had no idea how old I was.
Oh,
So that's how I got my start. I worked there for 3 years and then eventually left to start my own business. Um, and that's when I kind of had a really turbulent period in my life.
So you started your first business when you were 14. You continue on your business journey. So it wasn't this SEO business right now. So what happened in between there and when did the
Yeah,
homeless part
I
start?
so I just worked a full-time job. So from 14 to 17, I worked for them full-time. And then at 17, I'd spent my savings to start StudioHawk, to start my business. Um, and at that point, I was actually living with my dad. My mum was, she was dealing with a lot of challenges herself. She was homeless at the time. And dad's partner decided, a very common story, unfortunately, she decided that I was baggage. She referred to me that way, spoke to me like that, and because of my previous, my mum, and she said that, yeah, I wasn't welcome to stay. And so I ended up on the streets of Melbourne.
So you've already started Studio Hawk and then you became homeless.
Yep. I had
Okay,
no
then what
clients,
happened?
no business.
Okay, so then did you pause for a while? How did you survive during that time that you were homeless?
Yeah, so obviously I wasn't really focused on the business. The first day, as you can imagine, was the first week really of sleeping under bridges, trying to get help, trying to reach out to government support, all those different systems. You feel your motivation slipping very, very quickly. And that's what I felt. I tried to get my job back. They'd already filled it. And frankly, I don't think they wanted to hire me back because I left on such bad terms. Um, and yeah, it was a really, really challenging period. I went on for months, couch surfing, homeless camps. I'd completely forgotten about the business at this point, to be honest. I was just trying to get work anywhere. Um, until I eventually had a phenomenal social worker called Carly, and Carly built what's called an individual development plan and kind of got me on a pathway to kind of start kind of making some right decisions again in my life, and introduced me to a business program called Getting Down to Business, which is a free program that kind of supports young people or disadvantaged people in business. And I just was obsessed with it, and I got paired with a fantastic mentor, and that was kind of the beginning of the real start of Studio Hawk almost a year later.
Wow. Okay. So how did you get from homeless to then, succeeding and getting clients? I would love to hear, it's even though, yeah, you can't skip that part. It just sounds really exciting and how, it's such a different scenario, right? For someone without a home to then succeeding in business. Can you share the gap between there and how you make it work?
Sure. So that first year, I wasn't getting clients. I wasn't, you know, hustling clients on the street. I was homeless. I was, focused on, just trying to get a place. The government, like, I was trying to get Centrelink, trying to get all these different things. The government program was kind of the start of that. So after about, 9 months on the street, I got accepted into that government program. Really, that 9 months, there wasn't anything going on. It was just trying to get by. Um, and I had no motivation. It wasn't like I was, when the media report this story and they talk about how I had the resilience and the motivation, I didn't have the motivation. I had Carla and Graham that really helped me. And without them, I would never have made it out the other side. But Graham encouraged me to start coming to some networking events. I did not want to go to some networking events.
And at this stage, you're about 19. You still look really young and
About 18, yeah, about
paid.
18.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, still look really young. My clothes are dirty, but luckily I work in tech, so it's not an overly big deal. Um, but yeah, I would go up to different networking events and literally just meet people, shake hands. I think everyone knows that process of literally just going up, walking into rooms, just trying to see if you can meet anyone. And eventually I met a couple people through Graham, tradies who were willing to kind of give me a shot and
Mhm.
become my first clients. Um, and I just busted my ass. Like, it's not a glamorous story. I just busted my ass for them.
Mm.
Made sure that they were over the moon happy that I was working on this stuff as much as I could. And then eventually they started referring me work until I had enough money for a share house. And I remember the date, September 12th. Never forget. The first day I actually had a proper roof above my head.
Wow, that's amazing. And so how long have you had Studio Hawk now from that moment? I would call it the time that you rose from the dead and you reignited the business. How long has that been running now, and what is the team size now?
That's about 9 years since that. Team of about 100, turnover about 22 million. Um, and yeah, it's just been a phenomenal journey. Obviously expanding out internationally. We just expanded in the US 2 months ago, which is going insane. Just absolutely flying over there. We've mobilized a team to move over there and to start doing that. But yeah, it's been a phenomenal journey. So many stories along the way.
Now, looking back, do you think there was a lesson to be learned in the struggles that you had to face? Maybe at the beginning it was not your fault. It was just background environment, family upbringing, and then later on you weren't motivated at all. Were there any lessons along the way that you have reflected on that you can share with us?
Million lessons. I think one of the most important ones, the most key takeaway is when someone's in that position, sometimes they're not going to get out. In fact, they're not going to get out without other people's support and help. Um, so it's about like helping, seeing what you do. That's why I became an ambassador for Lighthouse, which is a youth homelessness group to kind of help support other young people. And we've donated to date hundreds of thousands of dollars to combat youth homelessness. That was a big lesson. Just like you need someone else's help. You can't just struggle through that alone.
Is it because of your own depression and just negative mindset
Yeah.
there that you just couldn't see the light outside
No,
of?
it's impossible. Frankly, everyone always says, people always say, "Oh, so other homeless people, could they do what you do?" And I'm like, if they had a Graham and a Carly, maybe.
Oh.
But without that, it's just you have to imagine then being on the streets, not having a place, feeling anxious all the time, 24/7, smelling yourself, not knowing what to do, where you're going to go. Is this going to be the rest of your life? The government support is not there. You really are in this mindset of, partnered with the mental health. I really felt like baggage. I felt like I was a stain on society. You know, you have to remember these factors. Am I gonna be able to pull myself out of that by myself? No, absolutely not. And anyone that kind of thinks that that's, feasible or an expectation for people to do, I think are severely privileged people that have never had to go through that.
Yeah. And did you ever had a knowing that you don't deserve this or your life is better than this? Like, yeah, like I'm just curious to see like, what still kept you going, or the fact that you even bumped into Carly and you welcomed that help. Was there something that was driving it internally?
Yeah, I mean, so I was very obviously I felt like I got dealt a really crappy pair of hands, right? A pair of cards, sorry. And I was just like, this just isn't fair. This doesn't feel fair. Um, and I knew I kind of was at a crossroads. I knew that I could either, just accept, like I could just kind of just go along with this. And frankly, I think I was within my rights to just go, I got dealt a crap pair of cards, it is what it is. There's nothing I could have done. But then there's the other part of me that was like, well, like I know deep down that I haven't really tried to get out of this situation. And no one's gonna help me. There's no safety net. It's not like someone's just gonna come out of the woodwork and save me from this. I knew that, to be honest with myself, I had to at least try. And that's what I did. I just tried. And that's kind of step by step, brick by brick, what kind of got me out of it.
Yeah. And how has it shaped you as a leader? And especially like when you started making money, like did you all of a sudden feel really like arrogant and proud, or were you very still like humble and worried that you're gonna lose everything? Like what was going through your mind when you started to succeed?
Yeah, look, I think when you go through that, it's very hard to be very arrogant or to have a lot of
Mm.
pride. When I was 17, I was very arrogant. I had a lot of pride because I built that up from 14 to 17. But when you go through an experience like that, it really humbles you. I don't think it was till about 3 years ago that maybe, like, since we're making, like, $10 million a year, that I thought I stopped worrying about ending up homeless again. Uh, so it's a severe, it takes a long time to come off the back of that and, come through. But, yeah, for many years after, Even just like when I started hiring my first team members and I thought, what am I doing? Now they're reliant on me. Do I really need more responsibility? Uh, But that was kind of just my mindset. I really just, that experience gave me the drive and the motivation to kind of push forward and keep going.
Yeah. So as you know, business is not easy. Everyone who's in business complain about challenges and things.
Yeah.
Um, I know homeless is kind of a very severe thing. Is there anything comparable to that experience since you've been in business for 9 years? Have you had to overcome any other challenges that you would say, you know what, nothing compares to that, or yes, this compared to that?
Nothing. Nothing compares to that. I've had to do hard things. I've had to let good people go. I've had to make really tough decisions for the business. I've had to grow the business. I've been a part of a very, very fast growing business. Nothing compares to being homeless and going through that and what other young people have to go through.
Mm. Any tips on your success? I mean, you just went from nothing to like, crazily successful business in a short time and you're still young. What would you say some of the, advice you could give to, a smaller business like mine, like wanting to double and, 10x my business? What were some of the strategies or mindset shift that helped you to really excel?
I think it's about identifying what part of the business journey you're in at the time. You know, there's so many different, like, Studio Hook's one business, but I swear I've had 10 different businesses. It's evolved so many times. How you do things when you're one person, 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, 50 people, 100 people. That's all different businesses. I would say the biggest thing that kind of threads through that is getting help, like engaging people to do parts of your business that you're not good at, really operating in your zone of genius and delegate everything else. Delegate everything. Um, that's really the key. If you're not the absolute best at doing something and you're the only person in the business that can do that thing, don't do it. Um, so yeah, just backing people, like really empowering your team. I see so many small business owners that they don't empower their team. They take the credit, they do all the heavy lifting, but they never actually even give their team the opportunity to try.
Really awesome advice. And I totally agree with outsourcing. Yeah. What I do for a living. Um, so, Carly, it was at Carly and another man there that helped you. Has there been more people along the way that has guided you and mentored you? Have you leaned onto that kind of strategy to have someone that could help you through?
Yeah, look, I'm a big believer in mentors. I don't currently have a mentor. We've got an advisory board, which is great, but a bit different. Um, they were the most significant, people that helped. They were the first kind of two, the people that, you know, when I was nothing, offered to spend their time to help me. Now it's different. Like now it's, there's a lot of people that either want to be mentored or are offering to mentor, but it's a bit different now that, you've got a bit of status, that people are like willing to jump in and get involved. And that's amazing. And I really appreciate that. But, I'm always going to look to those or Carly and Graham as the people that really pioneered and helped me.
Amazing. Yeah, I definitely felt like when I was starting out, I just try to do everything myself. And now I'm just like, I need to find the right person and just
Yeah,
pay for it to get there
totally.
faster.
Totally.
Um, so, originally when you were starting out, you were just trying to get yourself out of, homelessness and success to you probably just meant like finding enough money to pay the bills, etc.
Yeah.
How has success changed for you as you grew into a $5 million business, 10 million, then 20? Like, has it changed, evolved? Like, what is your purpose in life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think my definition of success has changed a lot, right? I look at
Mm.
people and I realize you can just chase more revenue and more profit, and that's fine. That's fun. I looked at it and I thought, well, I want to have more of an impact in people's lives. So I want to identify people that haven't been given an opportunity and give them an opportunity, like the people that helped me. So the idea behind that was to partner with Lighthouse Foundation. We pioneered this junior program, in which we invest hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, taking people with zero experience, partnering them with learning and development specialists of all different kind of backgrounds, disadvantaged, and otherwise, and training them to become these world-class SEO specialists. Mm, Even just empowering our leaders, we do a lot of management training, and I'm a big believer in transformational leadership. And I think that's why our retention's so good of our team and why people give their all every day. Um, but
Can you explain more about transformation leadership? Because I definitely heard the term servant leadership. So you're serving, you're always trying to add value to your team. But what is transformational leadership?
transformational leadership is basically the principle that you take rather than just telling someone what to do, like a manager. Transformational leadership is empowering someone to be the best version of themselves. So take Lawrence, for instance, came to us as a junior, um, was really struggling to find work. Who's now the general manager of Australia. Do you think like Lawrence's loyalties lie with the business that's allowed him to transform his life? He's now got a small stake in the Australian business and he's transformed the way people perceive him and acknowledge him in his life. That's transformational leadership, and I've got so many stories like this. Honestly, I could reel them off. But that is the kind of, money can't buy that level of commitment that those people have to the business because of how much it's helped them. Just like the business has helped me and transformed my life, it's about playing that forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're saying transforming life, do you also touch on their life, their personal goals, and they're not just transforming in terms of their career, but like you really want them to evolve as a human being in
Yeah.
other aspects of life?
So look, I'm a believer that, yeah, they absolutely understanding their personal goals and helping them achieve that. I don't believe too much in crossing into that territory. I don't party with my staff or do anything like that. People have a personal life, let them enjoy that. But when people don't have to worry about the business side, the success side, which is a lot of how we identify and build ourselves up, it makes personal a lot easier to deal with when everything else is working for you.
Mm. And you mentioned that it helps with the retention because you really do care about yourself. Does it also help with hiring? Are people knocking on your door knowing that you're a different kind of marketing agency? You have an amazing story, and you're also supporting this amazing charity. Like, how much of that do you think that really impacts your ability to attract great talent?
It's a good question. I mean, I think about it occasionally. We're very lucky, you know. So we'd be the largest independent SEO company in the world at this point. So we naturally get a lot of candidates for a junior role. Last round we had almost 2,000 candidates apply. Um, so I don't know. A big part of that could be that the way we look at progression and growing people within the organization. I'm sure people have heard and seen, and they can see online all the work we put in that, and maybe from other people that work there. Um, but yeah, also it's kind of people apply because it's a unique kind of model instead of traditional full service agency that does everything. We just do SEO, which means that it's not a bloated kind of role or organization. We don't even have account managers, so these people work directly with the client. So it's a direct to engineer model, which is very unique in our space. So I think a lot of people enjoy that because they get to kind of lead the strategy with clients rather than just being, a grunt worker in the back. So I don't know. It's hard to tell why people apply, but you know, certainly a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm curious, you mentioned that, it's all about growth is all about finding what you really should be doing and delegating the rest.
Yeah.
I would love for you to share if you're looking back, when you're at a million versus 10 or 20, has your job as a CEO really changed? What does your day-to-day CEO job look like at the moment?
Well, I'm not technically a CEO anymore. So yeah, my job's changed a lot. Going from when you start, you're more of a manager. As you evolve, you become more of a CEO. And then at some point you either continue down that CEO pathway or I stepped back as CEO and I put someone else in place and I took more of a founder role. So my role now today is more about strategic direction of where I think we should take the business, coaching and consulting with our senior leaders to guide them on the foundations of the business. And now I'm really focused on the US side, which is where we've only got a team of two. So I get to kind of be the CEO, but you wouldn't call yourself the CEO, two people, where I get to be the founder over there and really lead the US division, because Australia and the UK are quite well established and growing really rapidly. Rare
Yeah.
teams they have.
So you're going to be busy expanding in the US, and like, what does 10 years look like for you? What's the future for Studio Hawk and even the future of SEO? I feel like SEO has been such a it's been around for so long and it keeps
Mm.
changing, and like, any insights into what you think about your industry or in your business future?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, like, I don't know where the business will end up. I'm not sure. It's anyone's guess. I mean, we're going to continue to grow. I still think there's, a phenomenal amount that we can do and achieve in our industry. And economy of scale really helps with that. Um, where do I see SEO? We're short of the obvious, optimizing for search GPT and stuff like that, which is becoming a big part and a big driver of growth in our business. Um, I think that, SEO's heading more to a strategy role, understanding brand strategy and organic strategy and helping companies with that. Um, and that's super exciting because that's why I think you want front-facing people. You want to work directly with your SEO specialist to lead that strategy, to understand your business and to kind of put those things in. I think the old world of SEO, grunt work, meta descriptions, HTML tags, that world is dying. Yeah, backlinking, I think your digital PR plays a big role, but your traditional Fiverr backlinks, I mean, they died 10 years ago. Uh, but what people think of SEO is no more. It's evolved more into a very strategically driven part of your brand. How do you position yourself as an authority and an expert more so than just H1s and stuffing keywords on a page?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for those tips. As we wrap up, I like to talk a little bit about EO. So
Yeah.
I know you've been a member for 6 years. Would love to know, like, how did you hear about it? Were there any special memories of things that's happened in EO that you could share with our listeners?
Well, yeah, I've been part of EO for a long time. EO has been awesome because, as a young person starting a business, obviously not knowing anything, surrounding yourself with a community of people that have been there, done that has been phenomenal. Um, there's so many moments in EO that I can think of, but I can't share because of confidentiality. Uh, but honestly, my favorite moments in EO have just been like the small little moments that add up. Like, I met my best friend through EO, who's got another business. I met him at an event, and I've met so many incredible people that have gone on to be such close friends, or go and see people through the hardest business challenges, or celebrate success, and that's what it's always been about. I mean, you can talk about the great events, you can talk about all the things that EO has, but I really think that it's those micro moments that really make EO a phenomenal network.
Yeah, amazing. And so has EO helped you to figure out your life's legacy? Because this is my last question for you is ultimately, what do you want to be remembered for? The impact that you want to make in this world.
I got a very simple answer for that, to be honest. I just want to have, when I die, I want there to be, just like I would for Graham, who's helped me a lot, and Carly, I want to be able to stand there and say that this person, I am who I am because of this person, and this person's had a monumental impact in my life. And I don't care where I am in the world, what I'm doing, I'll fly back and make sure I'm there. And I just wanna have the same, that people will be at that funeral, not because, "Oh, man, I feel obliged to go or I have to go." It's like, I wanna be there because of that person helped me. And that's all. That's the legacy. I don't think it's complicated. I don't think it needs to be complicated.
That is such a beautiful wrap up. But thank you so much. Your story in itself is so inspirational. Can't wait for everyone to hear it. You're such a humble guy and you're still so young and you're just got so much wisdom. So thank you so much for the opportunity for me to interview you here. And I'll make sure to add all your details in the description below so people can connect with you.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.